Yoga Collective. Here I am again, Mike, with another little session of YouTube Yoga, my YouTube Yoga channel. So today, it's snowing outside, so I decided to just practice in my house. And I hope that's okay. And all you need today, you need a chair. We're going to do chair yoga. So you need a chair, and you need what I suggest is a blanket and a pillow. So gather those things together and we'll sit and do some chair yoga. So now that you're back, we're just going to sit right on the edge of our chair and where you're comfortable, knees about hip width apart, feet directly below knees, and have your back nice and straight so that we're grounded through our sits bones and the alignment of energy is right up through our spine. So we'll sit on the edge of the chair or where you're comfortable on the chair. We're going to start off with just a few neck exercises. So lean your head over to one side. Take your opposite arm, come up over the top of your head, gently place it on the side of your head. And don't use your arm to torque your neck over, to pull your neck over. It's just to stabilize your neck. Take your other arm out to the side. Extend those fingers out as far as you can and get a good stretch in that neck. You can turn your gaze down a little bit toward the floor. Gives a little more stretch right in the back of the neck. Sternocleidomastoid muscle is on that side. And then you can look up maybe a little bit toward the ceiling and just work several muscles in the neck. And then bring that hand back in with the help of this hand, help your head back up in the center. Okay, we'll start on the other side. Lean your head to the other side. The opposite hand comes up and over the side of your head. Extend that hand down and just point those fingertips away. So we're getting a lot of energy flow through that shoulder, all the way from our fingertips right up through that neck, right up to the crown of your head. Again, you can turn your gaze a little bit more toward the floor. And you can turn it up a little more toward the ceiling. And we're breathing through all this. Big inhale, big exhale. Bring that hand back in with this help. Come back up in the center. Very good. Now we're just going to do a little bit of spinal movement. We're just going to roll our shoulders up and back. We're going to start with our shoulders up at the top of our spine. Get everything loosened up. And then reverse that direction. Get everything loosened up. Spine, shoulders, all the muscles loosened up. Take your fingers, clasp your fingers, and push them out in front of you. Invert your hands, push them out in front of you. Raise that up and over your head. Really reach for the ceiling with those inverted palms. See if you can touch the ceiling with those inverted palms. Your back's nice and straight. Got a little curve in your lower back. And then release your hands and twist to one side. Hold that twist. You're using your transverse abdominis muscles to do the twist. We're not going to use our hands to torque us around. Just use your abdominal muscles. Your gaze comes over your back shoulder. And then just swivel back toward the front. Clasp your hands one finger over this time. Push them out in front of you. Up and overhead. Really reach high. Stretch right through those shoulders. Stretch the underarm. Stretch the upper arm, the humerus, the forearms. You're stretching your wrists backwards, which is great for the wrists as we spend a lot of time on our computers, isolated at home these days. And we're going to release that. We're going to twist to the other side. Maybe a hand comes on your knee, one toward the back of the chair. Any kind of chair works for this. Your gaze comes over the back shoulder. So we're getting a full twist of the spine, all the way from your sacrum through the lumbar, the thoracic, and your cervical. and then we rotate back to the front. Now we're going to do a little cat-cow. So press collarbones broad and wide, press the chest out, press the stomach out. I'm doing a bit of a back bend here. And then on the exhale, you do a forward bend. We're doing a back bend on the inhale, just cat-cow, seated cat-cow. Exhale, forward bend. You're rotating your hips too, so as you come in a back bend, your hips anteriorly rotate forward, which means the top of your hips go forward and your tailbone goes back. As you go, as you exhale, you come into cat, and you round your back, your hips then rotate backwards, so the top of the hips go back, your tailbone then comes forward. This is called posterior rotation of your pelvis. A couple more of these. Just follow your own breath. Okay, that's good. Okay, now we're going to come around forward. Reestablish your seat on the chair. I like to sit right on the edge of the chair, just so my sits bones are kind of right on the edge of the chair, but my thighs, my hamstrings are free. Again, heels directly underneath your knees, knees about hip width apart. And we're going to do a little bit of stretching the piriformis muscle. The piriformis muscle runs, it runs right across here on your glute, right across your glutes. And you gotta be a little sensitive there. But the piriformis muscle, it runs horizontally across your back. The sciatic nerve runs vertically through it. So you can imagine if the nerve runs through it and this is against it, if this muscle is tight and stretched really tight, then it can put pressure on that sciatic nerve. And there comes a cat to do some yoga. And anyway, it can put pressure on that sciatic nerve and cause sciatic pain. So one way to help with that is I'm going to move one leg kind of over toward the center of the chair, bring my other leg up, and I'm going to cross my knees. The cat can do this no problem, so the cat got bored and is going to go find another place to lay down for its 20-some hour nap for the day. So you can't really see my toes. They're dorsiflex back toward my knee. My back is still nice and straight, but I'm coming into this. Cross your knees. You may actually lean back and cross your legs, and then come forward. And when you hit a vertical position, keep your back nice and straight. We're not going to round the back. Hinge at the hips and come forward just at the hips. Whatever little bit you can do. Maybe it's an inch, maybe a centimeter, maybe 2 or 3 inches. Depends on your flexibility in your glutes. But we're going to come forward with a nice straight back. So what we're doing, we're tipping our hips forward, doing an anterior rotation of the hips, and we're stretching that piriformis a bit. Good. Come up, swap legs. Other leg, put it right in the center, cross over, and you can do this if you lean back, cross over, and then come forward. Nice straight back, come forward, and whatever the extent you can. Dorsiflex these toes back toward your knee. It's called flexing that foot, dorsiflex. Plantar flexes like that. Dorsiflex is back up, so that's how I'll refer to it. And then your hands can be at your hips, your hand can be on your leg, and then just hinge forward a little bit, and you may feel, I'm feeling some stretch in my lower back, stretch across the piriformis. As we cross this leg over, we're stretching that piriformis sideways, but I'm also feeling some stretch in my glutes. And the glute muscles run vertically along your bum, and there's several sets of glutes, and those things can be stretched as well. It's always good to stretch muscles. And then come back and then reestablish your seated Tadasana. It's kind of like Tadasana, mountain pose, but on a chair. So now I'm going to bring my one leg up and over. I'm going to cross my ankle over my knee. I'm going to dorsiflex these toes back. My back stays nice and straight. This is figure 4. This knee, depending on your flexibility, may be up high, maybe down low. With the strength of this leg and the hip flexor muscles, bring this knee down toward the ground as far as you can. Don't use your hands to push it. We don't want to strain anything. Just go like this. And then with this, rotate at the hips. Bring your body forward, your upper torso forward, just as much as feels comfortable. For me, this is a big stretch in the left, in my hip, whichever leg you're using, the one that's on top. Big stretch in that back. Not so much for the piriformis, but more for the glutes and the hip flexor muscles. And I find I can't stretch quite as far, I can't lean quite as far forward in this stretch as I could where my legs are crossed right over. Come back up out of that, and then we're going to cross our legs the other way. Dorsiflex the foot. Use whatever strength you have just to pull that knee down toward the floor. That's as far as mine wants to go today. My back's nice and straight. Align your back as you sit straight up on the chair, and then fold forward. And you can place your hands on that chair if you like, on the back of the chair, and actually, just for stability, encourage your torso to move forward. This is kind of like Amanda, she does some of this kind of forward folding against the wall, with her hands against the wall. So this is in a chair, and you just fold forward as much as is comfy. Here comes the cat again. And then come back out of that. Okay, now, for Melissa, we need to do our ab work today. And for everybody, we need to do our ab work. So we're just going to sit in the chair. And I'm just going to turn my chair a little bit sideways so you can see. I'm right on the edge of the chair so that I got some room to the back. And I'm going to come up, and my hands are going to be on the chair, feet tucked, and then extend and pull in. Extend, pull in. Extend, pull in. Maybe reach to one corner to get the obliques. Center, in. Edge, in. Center, in. Left corner, in. Inhale when you expand. Exhale when you contract. In. And just keep going. Really good for the thighs too, as I'm getting a pretty good quad burn. But you can put your hands right here on your, you can balance that way. Put your hands right on your torso, you can feel it working. And then set your feet down, and then just shake it out. Shake those feet. Shake everything. It's good to shake. It stimulates the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is very good. Okay, now we're going to stand. We're going to come up to standing, and let me move my chair so you can see me. And we're going to place one foot up on the chair. The other one can be just vertical beneath your hip. Let's do this first. We're going to stand Tadasana. So Tadasana, feet hip width apart, toes forward, gauge your thighs, gauge your glutes, set your hips in neutral. If you don't, they could be too far forward or too far backward. So then I'm standing like this, or I'm standing like this. I want to be standing so that I've got alignment all the way through my shoulder, my hip, my knee, and my ankles. So engage the thighs, your glute. Bring your lower ribs down until you feel the engagement of your abdominals just a little bit. Shoulders back and down, chin parallel with the ground and back a little bit, Tadasana. Now bring one foot up to the chair. Now, I can still have verticality of the back leg, or if I like, depends how much stretch you want, you can move that back leg back a little bit. And we're going to be nice and straight in our torso, and we're going to come forward. We're going to lunge forward. The psoas muscle, deep psoas muscle, is inside. It connects from your spine all the way down to your quad, right inside your hip. We're going to stretch that psoas muscle. We're stretching the thigh muscle as well. Come forward. This leg is nice and straight. I'm engaging this quad so that I'm not, if your knee tends to hyperextend, you can have micro bend. But it's nice and straight. My back foot is pointed directly toward the chair. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to straighten that front leg out. I'm going to come into Parsvottanasana. Again, hinge at the hips so your back stays pretty straight. You're going to have a little bend in your lumbar. And then come forward again. This time maybe your arms come up toward the ceiling. Maybe a little bit of a back bend. If you do a back bend, engage your abs before you do a back bend. That's always going to protect your lumbar, your lower back, if you engage your abs in a back bend. Engage the abs. Parsvottanasana. Come up again. Engage the abs. One more time, Parsvottanasana. And then come up with your legs still on the chair. Rotate sideways on the chair. And we're going to do now a forward fold. So this foot, my standing foot, is directly sideways of the chair. My other foot is directly sideways. And I'm going to hinge at the hips now. And I'm going to fold forward. You can have, if you need something down there, we don't have any blocks here. I don't have any blocks in the house, actually. But do your best. Use whatever prop you might need. Maybe a kitty. If the kitty comes over here, I could use her. So we're going to come forward. And we come down. Maybe your fingers touch the floor. Both legs are nice and straight. This is going to stretch the adductor muscle on the inside of your leg. It's a big muscle that we don't often get to stretch. And then we're going to hinge at the hips, and we're going to come up. You can also do this if you have your pillow or whatever you might have. You can do that with your foot up on a pillow, and it gives you, the higher this leg is, the more stretch you're going to get doing this. Set that over. Okay, now we're going to just move our chair. We're going to do the other side. So I'm just going to switch the chair around. We're going to stand to Tadasana again. Foot comes up. You can still see that. Foot comes up. And then I'm going to come forward, stretching that psoas muscle. Stretch my thigh. Maybe my arms come up as I engage my abs. I come back, Parsvottanasana. Come up. Come back, Parsvottanasana again. My straight leg here, my back is rounding a little bit, just the nature. I can keep it straight to here, but then if I want to go any farther, it's going to round a little bit. The purpose of this, though, is to lengthen and stretch your hamstring. So it's more about your hamstring. One more time. Big forward stretch. That back heel, the heel that's on the floor, I noticed mine was starting to come up, so I consciously put it back down, engage this quad, so I can maintain the integrity of the pose. Like Allison said, all yoga poses have a sense of direction. Come back again, and come back into center. Now we turn to the other side. Maybe what you do is you take your blanket. You got a nice blanket, like that. And we come here. Now I'm going to hinge at the hips, stay nice and straight, right toward my standing leg. I'm going to come down. Boom. Big stretch in my hamstring of the standing leg. Stretch of the adductor muscle on the leg that's on the chair. and then help yourself up with that. Very good. Now, I see my computer just zoned out on me for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, now I'm going to take this chair and I'm going to turn it around so I'm facing the back. And I'm just going to stand about a torso length away from the chair. You can adjust that as necessary. Hands come to the back of the chair and walk yourself back. We're just going to do a downward facing dog on the chair. Hands on the chair. Your knees can be bent. The object of this is to have a nice straight back. If I straighten my legs too much, then my back tends to round. I want a nice straight back from my pelvis all the way to my shoulders. I want it to be nice and straight. If I had a dowel, sometimes we do this in class, you can see what my back's doing if I straighten my knees or not. You put a dowel from your sacrum up to the back of your head, and it should touch in three places. It should touch the back of your head, your thoracic spine, which is right behind right by your shoulder blades, between your shoulder blades, and then your sacrum. And then we're going to come into a warrior three. So you're in downward dog. That back leg comes up. I've got a table there. I don't have very much room to. And so now we're in warrior three. I'm going to move this around a little bit. There we go. Back leg then comes up. Warrior three. Maybe you can find a drishti on the floor, focal point, hands in the heart center. Take your hands off the chair, or you can leave your hands on the chair. But I'll always like to do a balance pose. This is our balance pose for today. If your hand's on there, maybe let one hand go. Maybe let it go for just a minute, see how it goes. Bend that forward knee and come back up into standing. Shake that out a minute. And we're going to do it again. So we're going to come back into a downward facing dog. Really lengthen between your sit bones and the crown of your head. Just lengthen through that whole side body. Just for a minute, breathe into that. Breathe real big and be mindful enough to feel the stretch of your ribs as your lungs inflate and stretching the ribs. Breaking down that fascia that was built up while we were sleeping last night. So now we're going to come into warrior three. Back leg comes up. Forward leg comes straight underneath me to where I can balance on that forward, on the standing leg. Focal point. Balance pose. Arms out forward and down. Sorry about that. There we go. That's what you get when you're at home, right? Okay. Now, then we just walk into the chair and shake that out. Just shake that out. Okay, now we're going to do a thigh stretch on the floor. So for this, you need a blanket. And take that blanket, and the blanket just comes right over the edge of the chair. And you'll see why here in a second. You may need another, depending on the length of your thigh, you may need another blanket on the floor. So I'm going to come down and I want my knee on the floor. Let me move that back so you can see a little bit. You can tell I'm doing all my own filming here. I don't have director, a film director. So here's the setup. Back foot, just the top of the toes are up on the chair, knees on the ground. Forward foot is the ankles underneath the knee. The width of my legs is about hip width, just as I'm standing in Tadasana. And depending on the ability to stretch this quad, then hands can be on the knee, and then just raise your torso being nice and straight, your back's nice and straight. Come back up until you get a good stretch in this quad. If this quad is really stretchy, you can engage your abdominal muscles, rectus abdominis, the six pack right here, and come into a little bit of a back bend. I'm not saying mine is really stretchy, I'm just demonstrating what you can do. Or you can bring your hands overhead for those of you who are really stretchy, and maybe get a little bit of a back bend. The idea is to bring your torso back. You can also do this up against the wall, but I like the chair because I can get my toes over the edge of the chair and get that quad going. And then we come forward with that, come up out of that, and then we're just going to swap feet. So my other foot comes back onto the chair. Oh, this is a little stiffer. I've been doing some mountain climbing lately, some gentle mountain climbing, so I don't risk having a injury or search and rescue. So I've been doing some, I should call that actually more hiking, just around some hills so I can get a little bit of elevation, but anyway, that's a different story. So here we are. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Think about your inhale, think about that energy going into this thigh, this stretching. Don't focus on the pain of that thigh, focus on the energy coming up through the ground, through your knee, and right into that thigh on the inhale. The last video we learned the Ujjayi breath. You can practice the Ujjayi breath, constriction in the back of the throat. One more time, big inhale. And then come forward and get yourself out of that as best you can. Okay, we're going to do one more, and it's going to be a shoulder stand, which is really great with the chair. So I'm going to move the chair back a little bit. I'm going to take that blanket off. Don't need the blanket anymore. You can actually put that blanket right, if you like, put it right underneath the front edge of that seat, that chair rather. I'm actually going to move the blanket. And we come, hopefully you can see this. So I'm going to come down onto my back with my feet on the edge of the chair, hands down on the floor, and I'm just going to push up into a bridge. So this is a modified shoulder stand, nice and easy. Think long between your knees and your shoulders. It's good to do an inversion. It's good for your immune system to do an inversion. Nice big breath. Inhale, your belly's going to come out. Exhale, it comes in, because that's the diaphragm moving. The farther your belly comes out, the more that diaphragm is moving down, because your abdominal contents have to go somewhere. And then we're just going to slowly lower down. And then our legs come onto the back of the chair. This is where you might want the blanket up on the chair. Or not. And we come into Shavasana. So this is a almost like a waterfall pose, although I don't have anything underneath my sit bones, but it's similar to a waterfall. And we just come into our Shavasana pose at the end of our class today. So you can hold that Shavasana as long as you like. And I was want to say thanks for joining me in a yoga class, yoga at home today. I'll probably go to the studio here and video some more of these YouTube yoga sessions. But for now, bring my hands into Anjali Mudra, the heart center. Thanks for coming. Everybody stay safe. May our thoughts be peaceful. May our words be peaceful. And may our heart be peaceful. Namaste.